Hello and welcome to the WBA Centennial, the podcast. We're celebrating the 100th convention for the WBA. And as always, here in this podcast, we have iconic figures, friendly faces, people that you might not know, but we're here to introduce you. But the guest that we have today, opening our show on the second day of celebration, is none other than Alicia Baumgartner, and she's one of the house's favorites. I've seen you grow, I've seen you expand, open up your wings. Alicia, it's always such a pleasure to have you. And let me just add, O2 Arena, it was earth-shattering. What a moment.
What a moment, honestly. And again, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. O2 Arena, I will forever remember that moment, knowing that history was made amongst women, a movement was made amongst women, and I'm just super blessed to be a part of that movement and just see how my career has just blossomed.
Absolutely. I remember having a different Zoom, and we were talking about women and boxing and mental health, and and I remember saying, there's so much talent here, and there will be a day that we will have this. And in less than 4 years, all of a sudden, it did happen. But it was not an overnight thing. This has been a long process. And I remember when the last call and the new unified champion, and I remember the expression on your face. It was a combination of I did it and relief. What was going through your head?
Like you mentioned, relief. It was a deep breath that I was able to take, something that I was working hard at for so long, to finally come to a moment in my life to say I did it again, and just at a different moment in my life, right? Winning the world title the first time, but this time it was just even better, knowing just what I went through, having to break myself, build myself back up, and become the unified world champion.
Most people don't know, and if I'm not at liberty to share, you just slap me, but there were a lot of changes in this, I'd say, year and a half. Changes that people questioned if you were going to be ready to face somebody with the accolades and the recognition and the platform like Michaela had. What was going through your head, if anything at all?
This was something that I was already aware of. This was something that I knew from the beginning, that these things were going to be an opinion in someone else's mind. But what I knew was that I was being prepared for this moment. I was being prepared for this huge stage that was going to set forth who Alicia Baumgartner was. And I was prepared for that moment. And there's no better feeling than knowing that you prepared and that you were made for that moment at the right time. And patience is everything in this sport and life. And I was able to take a hold of that and really say, I belong here. This is my moment. Take advantage. And we did that.
It was poetry. And, we want to think that the rivalries in the ring are left in the ring. But this was a rivalry that started many, many years ago, and it came to fruition. And obviously, it got really, really messy and hot during the weigh-in. When did you know that you got into Michaela's head?
Honestly, I would say when it was the first time, the first go around when we came to London. There was this energy of a belonging there, and I knew that was kind of upsetting feeling for her. Like, I'm just coming onto the scene. I'm getting my biggest pay of my life. Who is this woman? But I've been here. I've been prepared. And it started then. It started with the handshake. If we all remember.
Yes.
That tension that was there. Yes. We can see it all over that video. So.
Well, it's interesting that you said that. I had just forgotten that because it was overshadowed by the fact that the fight was rescheduled.
Exactly.
So I had forgotten about that, but you're so right. And then, so you get to that point, you shake your hand and there's that tug. And then you're told there's no fight.
Right.
For those that missed it, Her Royal Highness died right before, so no sporting activity was actually celebrated during that week. And then it took 3 weeks for you guys to get back. How frustrating was it for you to finally get that moment? You shake the hand, now you tell me. totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
You know that you got into her head, and now it's like, okay, control, delete, reset.
Right. I just knew, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm working with here. This is entertainment. This is a good laugh for myself.
Really?
So having to go back and to get back in camp, I'm just like, oh, we get to do it again the second time, even better. I'm coming with something even better. But it was a better energy in regards to myself and why I belonged. And you can see the difference between the energy from the first time to the second time. And it was just, I belong, I'm here, hello, what's next? And it was perfect.
Beautiful. You were definitely peacocking. I remember that evening after that first expression of, oh, I got it, I did it. So you're listening to IBO, WBC, WBO, IBF. The only one missing is the WBA.
Correct.
And you're here, and we're celebrating the 100th convention. We're going through the rankings and officials, and I know your manager, Marshall, has been very attentive, very aware of what's going on. Give me the gossip. What's the tea? What's going on?
Well, it's always important to be in a setting where you show up in. And I was contemplating on coming to the WBA convention only because this is the belt that I don't have, but I'm like, why not come? Why not show my face? Why not put myself in a place where I'm putting forth the effort, putting things into fruition, knowing that one day I will become
manifestation at its best,
absolutely,
baby.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Have that WBA title. And I made it apparent to come here and show my face, and things will unfold from here.
I think it's fascinating that we now have this opportunity because for many years, we, as the ladies in boxing, we were the silent warriors. People talked about us, people negotiated for us, but we were not really in the mix. It was like, yeah, just sit and look pretty.
Right.
So I love the fact that we have the Clarissa Shields, the Franchon Cruzes, and obviously Alicia, who are very upfront and center. How did you get that confidence to be able to say, I belong and this is what I want?
It started from a young age. It started when I was 8 years old, when I decided to look to boxing, and I was in a male-dominated sport, but I didn't look at gender as I'm different than you. I feel like I belong here. I work just as hard, and that confidence builds daily. It builds when things are said to be, no, you can't do this. Oh, you're a woman, you can't do this. And I didn't take no as an answer. I'm like, absolutely not. One day you guys will respect me of my talent. And that's where we are today, because my talent, my skill is respected. I'm respected as a woman. And that's important that we keep pushing that, because we are all equal as humans.
You are so right. And I go back to the press conference at the O2 after everything was said and done. And one of the reporters corrected himself because he said, it's wonderful to have, lady fighters, and he said, no, it's extraordinary to have fighters of this caliber. Is that a win now for somebody to just say they're fighters?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing that there's no reason to separate the two. We are fighters. We are warriors. We believe in ourselves, and we showcase that every time we step in the ring. Every time.
We just had a fight a few weeks ago, ladies, and the rounds went 3 minutes. How important, if at all, for you in particular, would it be for the rest of the sanctioning bodies allow the fights to go for 3 minutes for the ladies?
It's one of those things where it's a discussion to have. Mm-hmm. I'm in the middle. I like the 2 minutes. I like the 3 minutes. There's some fights that I say looks better in a 2-minute fight than a 3. But overall, if we can come to an agreement, let's do 12 2-minute rounds. I think that's fair. I think that kind of separates, women still being in their own way. We have a women fight. They do fight 2 minutes, but we have 12 rounds now, something similar to the men. I don't think we want to be just like the men, but we want to just be equal. We want to have, equal pay. We want to have equal rounds. And
Equal
those things.
opportunity.
Equal opportunity, absolutely. And we can do that. If we can do it in 10, we can do 2 more rounds, I'm sure.
True. As a matter of fact, so like you said, there's mixed feelings about it. A lot of the ladies say, if I had that extra minute, I would have more knockouts on my record. Because another thing is, ladies don't knock out their opponents. Is that true?
I would say I disagree.
Thank you.
I would say the 4th round against Terry Harper showcased that you can have a knockout in 2 rounds. Again, it just depends on that fighter, and that's just what it comes down to. It's not that it's not doable, right? It has happened, so we have to go off facts.
And that's a very solid fact right there.
Right.
I mean, we've had knockouts in 35 seconds. So
Exactly.
Yeah, it can be done. And moving along, when we look into 2023, after such an outstanding 2022 for the ladies, what can we expect of Alicia Baumgartner?
Deep breath there. So much. I see the vision. I envision myself doing things that are just bigger than what I can imagine. And not just for the sport of boxing, but just for overall life, encouraging, motivating. We have young girls who are able to look up to different stories, different backgrounds, different colors. And I love that we can be a part of a movement. This is a movement at the end of the day. This is something that we're implementing. This is something that we're stamping and making sure that one day the O2 will be talked about. The Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano will be talked about. It's being talked about still. And these are the fights that we're able to have for people to say, oh, well, let's add the women into this conversation because they're doing the thing. They're doing their damn thing in here.
It's interesting that you say that because when you have somebody like Jake Paul carry so much weight, mediatic attention, and the first thing he talks about is women's boxing and how he's supporting it. I mean, did we ever think that was going to happen?
No, I mean, and that's the thing. It's a different look. It's not comfortable for a lot of people. I'm still trying to have understanding. For me, I'm a person who wants to listen, and I want to understand what your way is. If you're saying you can help women's boxing, tell me how. How can I be a benefit of that? How can I help with that as well? Because like you mentioned earlier, it's a we thing. And I think if we all continue to work together, we can bring it to the light where it needs to be and stay lit, not go under the shadows anymore.
I love the way you stated that. Yes, it's time for us to walk away and let that darkness just kind of fall apart.
Absolutely.
Well, as usual, it's a pleasure speaking with you. But before I let you go, I just need to throw you under the bus again. Is there a name in particular that you would like to face? Maybe 2023 or just anytime?
Yeah, I would love to face Katie Taylor. I believe that fight is an amazing fight for myself. It's 2 high caliber fighters that have the best skill in the world. I've seen her fight Amanda Serrano. I've been able to just watch her career blossom. And the best me is to fight someone who's the best as well. I love a challenge. It makes me better. It makes me grow. And I want to test myself. And Katie Taylor is that test for me.
There you go. And again, a few months ago, we had the opportunity to talk candidly, and you mentioned that you want to come back in the first trimester of 2023. That pretty much puts all the holiday celebration aside because that means you would be walking into camp right now.
Right, absolutely. And, like I mentioned, this is a lifestyle for me. This is something that I love to do. And, the celebrations, the gatherings, that will come. But right now, it's really time for me to buckle down and solidify my name, my career, my future. And it starts now. It's been started. So the work is never done.
There you go. 12/12 today. Alicia Baumgartner just said it. She's coming back in the first trimester of 2023. Maybe Katie Taylor heard you. We don't know.
We don't know.
You'll let me know, right?
I'll let you know. I'm sure everybody would know.
Hey, you let me know first. Alicia, always a pleasure. It's
always.
So fantastic. I am so privileged and honored to have you guys here and have the opportunity to, share ideas and obviously to show my support in the little ways that I can.
Thank you. And you've been doing that, and you've been doing an amazing job. Like, it's a blessing just to see a woman like yourself showcase, speak well, and just look amazing at that. So you're doing it. You've been doing it.
Thank you, love. And we still owe each other a workout session.
That's
for
right.
reals.
That's right.
But before you go, we have none other than Don Gilberto Jesus Mendoza opening the celebrations of the 100th convention. Had very, very good, solid words of his heart, and talking about the commitment and the motivation that will drive the WBA to the new era. Let's listen. So we're here celebrating 100 years of the WBA, the 100th convention, and we're with none other than Gilberto Jesus Mendoza, aka Gilbertico. It's easier said than done, 100 years. How does that feel?
Well, I'm deeply honored being a boxing fan, and being part of the sport, having beautiful persons like you, having beautiful persons on my directorate with all of us. They leave me, I was left with a legacy from my father, from the previous president, a lot from Latin America, also from the United States. You know, being the first organizations, the pioneers of boxing, besides other sanctioning bodies, is something that we have to try and work together, you know, and to improve the sport. We have a very great message. We have a lot of values that are principles and lessons that are taught quietly by a lot of heroes, because at the end of the day, all our champions are heroes. And they teach so much, they motivate so much to be better, and it's a great responsibility. So we have to keep working on the next 100 years, trying to make it as much as possible, and make it more systematic. This kind of work we're doing, and for me, boxing is a way to educate people. You know, there's a lot of options these days that can teach you, but what they do is totally different. So we have to commit. We have to be devoted, trying to send this message and to respect the right of the fighters. That's one thing we're going to do.
One of the things that we talk about is the international reach that the WBA has. How committed are you as part of the organization to bring in that talent from those less known countries in order to get recognition and therefore a bigger platform?
Look, right now we are working together. As you know, we declare boxing as one sport. We're trying to work from the basis, from the amateurs. We're trying to have some kind of development, you know, systematically, that can bring all the information that we need from the kids. You know, at least, you know, at some point, we want to follow them since they start in amateurs until they're professionals, and we're trying to take less the pragmatic ways. We're trying actually add into it. We're trying to make courses for teachers. Actually, we have one that a former fighter will be able in 9 months to have like a course that will make him a trainer. That was done through a lot of educational ministers in several countries in Latin America. But we're doing that. And one thing is, like, for example, Africa. We have the Minister of Sport of Africa who was really interested, and there are other countries like Venezuela who was interested. There's France is also interested. So for us, you know, it's a big thing, and that's the only way we can do it. You know, we have to teach the next generation to keep doing what we do.
Well, I'm very excited. It's easier said than done. Congratulations. I hope we get to celebrate another 100 years. So thank you for everything you've done.
No, thank you. You know you're part of this family.
Oh, thank you. Bless me too. And we're back here at the Caribe Royale in Orlando celebrating the 100th convention for the WBA. And after Gilberto Mendoza gives us the WBA's mission statement for the future of the WBA, we now start with all the wonderful guests that we've had here on the podcast. And we're going to start with Angelino Cordova, who came all the way from Venezuela to showcase his talent with us, his family, right here in Orlando. Take a listen. De manteles largos con un amigo de la casa, básicamente de nuestra casa. Angelino, gracias por estar con nosotros.
Pues de verdad, gracias a ti primeramente por la invitación y a todo este equipo que trabaja every day.
Every day. Me encanta que estás ahí dándole duro al inglés. Háblame un poco de lo que significa estar invitado por primera vez por la AMB y celebrar. Recordemos que la casa de la AMB es Venezuela y son 100 años. ¿Qué significa para ti?
Oye, de verdad que primeramente es un privilegio, un honor estar representando, pues, primeramente a mi país y a todo el boxeo venezolano, pues mi persona, Angelino Córdoba, en toda la representación de todos los boxeadores. Bueno, estoy yo aquí, no pudieron estar en esta oportunidad, pero bueno, aquí estoy presente, de verdad. Significa para mí algo de gran magnitud y tener el privilegio de estar, no estuve en 99 años, pero aquí estamos en el 100 celebrando.
Amén,
sí.
amén.
Sí, sí.
Y hablemos un poco lo que significa para ti, tú hasta el momento en tu carrera invicto con una marca perfecta, 17-0-15 tus victorias por la vía del cloroformo. O sea, no se dice fácil. La verdad que eso es un récord de mucho peso. Pero llegar de una larga línea de boxeadores venezolanos en un país donde está reconocido por la pelota, no el boxeo. Obviamente ese cero tiene peso, ese legado tiene peso. ¿Qué es lo más importante para ti?
Oye, pues muchas personas cuestionan en referencia a ese 17-0, como me lo menciona.
Con 15 knockouts, 15 de esas victorias por knockout, no se dice fácil.
Sí, pues no se dice fácil. Ratifico, disculpa, 12 knockouts. 12 knockouts,
Te
sí.
sumé 3 más.
Sí, no importa, pero aquí estamos. Pues no ha sido fácil, como te repito, muchas personas cuestionan eso, porque muchos dicen, oye, no has peleado con nadie. Y pues vamos a tomar el ejemplo también del venezolano Edwin Valero, mi compatriota. Pues él tampoco peleaba con nadie, y iba a Japón y en el mundo entero, y es reconocido. Y pues muchas personas han cuestionado mi invicto porque dicen que no he peleado con nadie, pero pues no ha sido fácil, y aquí estoy pues dispuesto a pelear con los mejores, y estoy listo para todos los 108 del mundo. Aquí está Angelino Córdoba, y de verdad eso para mí me siento, cada día me es como un reto, y me siento listo y preparado para enfrentar a cualquiera de ellos.
Me encanta que saques a relucir a alguien de ese nivel como fue Edwin Valero, que en paz descanse. También me gustaría sacar a relucir otro gran boxeador, amigo también de la casa, Jorge Linares. Y la crítica siempre es, es que no ha peleado con nadie. Pero el hecho de que no los conozcan no quiere decir que no eran nadie. Tuve la oportunidad de hablar con ambos en algún momento y me decían, es que esos nadies que la gente no conoce también pegan, y pegan duro.
Sí, pues.
Eso es lo que yo siempre digo. Fácil decir, es que no son nadie. A ver, súbete tú.
Sí, pues esa crítica siempre ha habido, pero pues no se sabe el trabajo que hay detrás de todo eso. Es algo grande, pues, que nadie sabe, sino bueno, cuando se llegan las oportunidades. Asimismo, y pues nadie conoce, por lo menos mi trayectoria amateur. Pues que muy pocos la conocen. Yo vengo duré hasta Río de Janeiro, tuve preolímpicos, mundiales, Juegos Centroamericanos, todos mundiales, clasificatorio a los Juegos Olímpicos. Peleé con el campeón olímpico Asamboy Dusmatov. Antes de ser campeón olímpico, pues tengo mi recorrido, pues, y tengo una base, y entonces me siento capacitado, pues, para enfrentar a cualquier campeón que tenga el título. Me siento capacitado y, pues, ellos lo saben. Por eso yo espero una oportunidad.
Amén. Yo recuerdo hace mucho tiempo, cuando hablábamos de los Finito López, de los Iván Calderón, esas eran divisiones que nadie reconocía. Y vuelvo otra vez, es que nadie los conoce. Hoy en día la plataforma se ha abierto mucho más para tener a los pesos pequeños y demostrar la capacidad boxística. ¿Qué significa vivir esta era para ti cuando conocemos la clase de boxeadores que han habido antaño?
Oye, pues sí, una cantidad de boxeadores de verdad respetable, pues, porque no es nada fácil el duro sacrificio que se pasa para mantenerse. Y pues para mí significa algo muy grande, pues, todo lo que tú mencionas, porque, lo repito, no es fácil, de verdad. No es fácil.
Cuando hablamos de un Iván Calderón, cuando hablamos de un Joshua Franco, cuando hablamos de
Finito López,
de Pitbull, Finito López, Dios, récord mundial, Guinness World Records, o sea, marcas a diestra y siniestra. Cuando nombramos todo eso, a ti, ¿quién te queda sonando en la cabeza? Aparte de Finito, obviamente ya me doy cuenta.
Bueno, de los pesos chiquitos aquí tenemos al legendario Donito Donaire,
Sí.
Chocolatito González, el Gallo Estrada. Pues muchos campeones.
Carlos
Cuadras, venezolano, mi compañero Carlos Cañizales, pues que son boxeadores duros, de verdad duros, y pues a quien admiro, y de verdad tengo mucha afinidad, pues, con todos ellos, porque de verdad que tienen un corazón inmenso, de verdad llevan el boxeo en el pecho, y eso se ve y se siente.
Y yo sé que llegaste aquí, ya estás rankeado, ya estás... A ver, cuéntanos ahora en qué posición estás.
Pues ahorita recientemente en la WBA he estado de número 9. Pues en la WBO estoy de número 11. Pues por el triunfo obteniendo el título latino de la WBO, ganándole a Axel Vega en una dura pelea que
sí,
tú presenciaste.
Sí, señor.
El 24 de junio del 2022. Sí, y pues hasta los momentos no he peleado, he estado pues buscando maneras de pelear, de defender el título, pero bueno, ya pues me toca dejar el título vacante porque no lo defendí, y es una lástima, pero pues ahora me preparo con la convicción de un mejor logro, y pues que me puedan dar la oportunidad All Star Boxing de pelear el título mundial con la Bomba González. Aprovecho en este momento de decirle, All Star, señor Tuto Zavala, aquí estoy listo, preparado, póngame la bomba, vamos a hablar, vamos a sentarnos, y pues que se haga la negociación, que se haga la pelea. Somos aquí mismo del Caribe, yo soy de Venezuela, y pues usted sabe y usted me conoce.
Bueno, ahí están las palabras de Angelino Córdoba desde Venezuela, aquí mostrándonos que todavía tiene muchas ganas y está ya clasificado entre los mejores. La Bomba, Tatán González, a ver si se nos da. 17-0 con 12 knockouts. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Tú sabes, esta es tu casa. Mientras nosotros estemos aquí, esta es tu casa.
Muchas gracias, y aprovecho el momento. Gracias a Gilberto Jesús Mendoza por la invitación, y de verdad por todo este equipo multidisciplinario que está aquí trabajando por el boxeo.
Amén, amén, amén,
Sí,
amén. Muchas gracias, y no se te olvide, vamos a estar aquí, así que cuando quieras pasas y nos saludas.
Muchas gracias, Trejo, de verdad, por tu invitación, y a tu equipo, de verdad.
Gracias. Well, we do hope you enjoyed all those iconic figures that have been part of the WBA family from the inception as we celebrate the 100th convention of this organization in over 104 years worth of history. And since one of the mission statements from the WBA is to make emphasis on the international way of boxing, we now go all the way to Australia where we have Michael Serafa. He's coming from down under to let us know what he can do and what he's expected to do as he moves up in the ranks of boxing in the middleweight division. And we're back, and this is the WBA Centennial, the podcast. And as usual, we have outstanding guests and people that you might not be acquainted with. So this is one of the young men that actually come in and they're going to show us their skills here in the U.S. Michael Serafa comes all the way from Australia, Melbourne to be exact. Outstanding record, 31-4 with 19 knockouts. That's a lot easier said than done.
It's a hard work, hard job. But I love it. I'm grateful, and the best is yet to come. I truly believe that. I'm 30 and I'm ready to make a statement. 30
years young. As a matter of fact, when we look at Australia, we've had outstanding fighters that come in to America. They write their own chapters in the history books. What kind of legacy do you see that you're actually writing for yourself?
For me, since a young age, it's always been a guy that's never ducked anybody. I fought everybody. You know, at 21 years old, I was fighting Peter Quillen, you know, the world champion.
Oof, yes.
You know, and I've been all around the world.
Negro, yes.
Yeah, you know, I fought Cal Brook. I fought Jeff Horn twice. You know, I've cleaned out Australia, and I fought 8 world champions. And for me, it was always that legacy to, you know, they say my name and it's like, wow, you know, he never ducked a fight. You know, like Miguel Cotto, who's my favourite fighter. You know, he's just tough as nails, and I've got that reputation now back at home. And you know, for me now, like I said, it's time to show America and show the world what I'm capable of and what I was born to do.
It's funny because we had conversations like that with somebody you just mentioned, Jeff Horn. He literally wrote his name once he faced Manny Pacquiao, and that win, be it that you agree or don't agree, he did beat Manny Pacquiao, and that's what the record states. But he always said that it took him to come to the States, establish himself here in America before getting a name and recognition. What do you think about that?
I truly believe he's 100% right. You know, in Australia, the sport's just not recognised. We don't get enough, you know, appreciation and you know, the respect we deserve. That's why a lot of Australians, we clean out our backyard, because I believe that if you haven't cleaned out your backyard, you can't come to another country and try to call out the best. So, you know, we do that first, and then we come over here and, you know, we just try to climb the ranks. You know, lucky for me, I've worked my butt off, and, you know, I'm highly world ranked now. I'm top 10 in the middleweight division, and, you know, I'm ranked across 3 sanctioning bodies, you know, top 5 in the world. So, yeah, I'm lucky, I'm grateful, but it's been, you know, 17 years. You know, I train 2-3 times a day. It's hard work, but you know, I just keep myself in the darkness, and, you know, I truly believe it's God's faith for me, and I always believe in my ability, and eventually it will happen. If you don't give up, it will happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we talk about the middleweight division, 160 pounds, right now is just as wide and deep. Yeah. There's a lot of talent there, and for, you know, recognition to you to be established in the top 10 across the board. There's a lot of responsibility carrying that type of position. You're very young still. How do you carry that? Putting X's and O's on the side, you obviously don't party, don't have much of a life if you're doing 3 a day still. So how do you carry that responsibility?
For me, I don't fear any man. You know, like a lot of people say, oh, you know, you worry this and that. For me, it was always been, I want to be the best. You got to beat the best. And you know, I just train. I'm in the gym 2-3 times a day. I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of family because of my, you know, career and the dedication I've put towards the sport. But for me, it's always been about that end goal. You know, setting my family to be, you know, my kids to be. You know, I never want my family to have my lifestyle. It was tough growing up in Australia as well. It was from a rough area, but I just stayed strong. And like I said, I just believe in God's plan for me, and I truly believe I'm going to be a world champion. And whoever stands in front of me, they're human. You know, they have 2 arms and a head and they bleed red. You know, and it just comes down to who wants it on the night. And I guarantee you, when it's my time, there's no one that wants it more than me. You know, I've bled for this sport.
I like the way you put it. They're just as human. They have 2 legs, 2 hands. That's
100%.
it. And I remember somebody a long time ago said to me, if your passion does not borderline obsession, you will never see the results.
Correct, 100%. People think I'm crazy. You know, like I'll go for a 10-kilometer run, or for you it might be 6 miles, I think it is. But, you know, I'll get up in the morning, I'll do, you know, an hour run, and then I'm straight into the gym, and then I'll do 2-hour boxing, and then I'll be back on the road doing my road work again, and then back in the gym. And I'm always trying to be better. You know, every day 1% better. And, you know, you give 101%, it's 100%, you know, and I just try to improve every single day. I want to get fitter. I'm in competition with myself. You know, I don't care about my opponent. For me, you know, whoever's standing in front of me is just a man standing in my way. And I don't really care. I've been in front of, you know, scary guys with scary records and big punches and awkward fighters, and I've got the W, you know. So, again, I just believe in my ability. I put in the work. I take no days off, no shortcuts, and, yeah, the rest writes itself.
Of course, so much so that you are, like I said, already ranked in very good positions, and you're now in a position that you can call out names. You can look for those opportunities.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to throw you under the bus. What kind of names would you like to see in your record?
Whoever's in front of me, you know, in the world rankings, I think I'm sitting at number 6 or 7. Whoever's in front of me, I want to fight, you know. And when it comes to the world title, I'm number 1 in the WBA. Whoever's got the title, Lara, Golovkin, I'm ready. You know, I don't care. You know, they're scary, they're big, they're human. You know, I tell myself they're just human. You know what I mean? And I'm hungry, and it's my time.
So, Golovkin, Erislandy Lara.
Whoever else is in front of me.
There you go.
I'll fight anybody. I'm here to make a statement. You know, like I said, I've cleaned out my backyard. I fought 8 world champions. I fell short against 4 of them out of my 35 fights, but I was young. Like I said, I was fighting Peter Quillen at 21 years old, and I fought Cal Brook at 26 in his backyard, and I took him 12 rounds. You know, I had him hurt, and you know, there was glimpses where, you know, I nearly stopped him. But, you know, I was young, you know, and now I'm 30. And I'm a different beast now.
Of course.
Cut from a different cloth.
And I'm so looking forward to seeing you fight. So thank you for making time and just conversing with us. This is your home now. You're part of our family now.
100%.
Thank you so much for bringing him over. So I'm so excited. I hope to see you fight soon.
God bless. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome back to the WBA, the Centennial, the 100th convention of the WBA. And when we talk about legacies and icons and family and friends of boxing, we cannot exclude All-Star Boxing. And with us, Tutiquín Zavala.
Hi, Claudia.
Felix Tuto Zavala Tutiquín. And I've gained the honor to call you Tutiquín because I know your grandfather, I know your dad, and I know you. And it's an honor to see, especially when we're celebrating history. Your family has deep roots in the world of boxing. And obviously, to see you grow up and now become part of All-Star Boxing is an honor. Again, thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. I'm always proud, you know, to represent such a great, you know, man in boxing, which was my grandpa, Tuto Zavala. He built the company that we're running today, and I'm very happy and proud to be part of it.
And it's amazing because when we talk about history again, boxing allows for that to happen, not only as fighters, but managers, promoters, and to see that legacy being handed down for 3 generations now. And obviously to see you grow up in the sport of boxing, and now you're the one that's doing all the bidding and the rankings and, you know, the purse bidding. Tell me, how has life changed for you in the last 5 years?
Well, it's been a very drastic turn of events. You know, I wasn't really given anything. Little by little, I've been working my way up the ladder, from corners to flags to carrying the belt to anything, just to earn my spot and learning. You know, every day you learn in this sport, and I have great mentors, which I'm very grateful for. Gilberto Jesus Mendoza being one of them, Don Paco Valcarce to the WBO. Everybody treats me like family, and it's something very special that my grandpa left us.
Well, I remember you carrying the bucket. That's how far back I remember you.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And when we talk about Paquito, when we talk about Gilberto, again, Don Jose Sulaiman and now Mauricio, families making history and writing their own chapters. How important was it for you to be here?
It's very important, and I'm actually working with the new generation of the Mendozas, which is Alfredo, and I'm just very, very, very fortunate. Gilberto has seen me since I was a kid growing up. Everybody in boxing treats me like a son of the sport, and I'm just very happy, just taking it day by day and learning.
Tutiquín, but the truth is, Mr. Felix Zavala, like now I'm supposed to call you, Mr. Big Time Promoter, it's got to carry weight, and it's got to weigh heavy on your shoulders. On Alfredo, on Mauricio, on Gilberto, because you're not only carrying the family, you're carrying the sport of boxing, and perhaps the oldest organized sport, period.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sport where traditionally a lot of older people, dominate at the top. But I think we're bringing in, Alfredo, me, there's a new generation, a new wave of up-and-coming promoters and organization members that are coming up that'll probably be the future of the sport when we sit down 20 years from now.
I can't wait for that moment, but right now, I know there's a lot of wisdom being passed on. And when you're dealing with fighters, when you're dealing with families that depend on those fighters, perhaps you understand, because again, it's been handed down from one family member to the next. What is the word of wisdom that has trickled down all the way from your grandfather to you?
It's always been, honesty in the sport. There's a lot of miscommunications or a lot of misunderstandings. I think the Zabala's name has always had a good standing in the sport. We've never tarnished it. We're very workable people, and I never want to change that style. That's something I always want to maintain. Keep good relationships. Don't think you're better than anybody. Just be humble and keep doing your work. That's all.
When you have the opportunity to give fighters like La Bomba Gonzalez, now we have Angelino, Cordova, and all these fighters coming up, since you are now stepping up, what is your biggest commitment to these fighters?
Well, our promise to every fighter has always been, and we've always delivered, is a world title opportunity. We always get them a world title shots. Some of our fighters have had 2, 3, 4 world title shots, which is very hard to do in boxing. But it goes back to our relationships with the organizations, being good with the WBO, the WBA, the WBC, being very well connected, which helps achieve that. But as a promoter of a fighter, I always want them to be world champion. Right now, we have a young kid from the WBA coming up. His name is Anthony Princesa Olascawa. He's ranked number 4 in the world. He's a very talented kid. Together, we're working with him, and I think he'll be a future world champion.
I love the fact that, like you mentioned, you work with everybody, and Taken Promotions is very solid. It's been around for a long time, and again, another family-owned business that have forged many talented fighters. A lot of people think the Japanese way is a little bit complicated, but your family has never had a problem negotiating, coming to agreements?
Never. I mean, like I said, we're very easy workable people. It's what's kept our relationships good in boxing. Sometimes people tarnish a relationship over a business deal. We don't see it like that. We look at the long run of things. Where we'll be in 5 years from now or in 10 years, not where we'll be at the moment. It's always important to think ahead and not just at the moment of what's going on.
Among many of the mission statements that the WBA has made, not just for next year, but for the future, is obviously expand, internationalize, grassroots programs. And we've seen that. Like, you and your dad are constantly traveling all over the world. How difficult is it to maintain your fighters and make sure they are indeed in Thailand, and to take them to Japan and bring them back to England? And that's a lot of work.
Yeah, boxing is a lot of moving parts. Thankfully, we have the experience, from all the years working. So maybe it seems a little easier when they're already fighting than what goes on behind the scenes. But our goal is to always get it done, whatever it takes. My grandpa taught us, as a promoter, the word no shouldn't exist in your vocabulary. You can never cancel a show. You can never, a fight, it's just, you can't say no, you just got to make it happen, whatever it takes. People don't see it or people don't appreciate it, that's fine. You don't do it for the other people, you do it for yourself and for your fighter to make sure he feels at home anywhere, being in Japan or England. It's hard going overseas winning a decision, and that's part of the protection we give our fighters.
Brilliant, because we always talk about home court advantage.
Yeah.
That could also play a factor in any bout. So today was the day that you negotiated rankings, positionings in the table. How nerve-wracking is that whole process?
I'm kind of new to it, to be honest. The WBO convention, I vouched for a few fighters. This is my second time doing it. I'm getting a little more comfortable with it, so I feel good. We presented today also Derek Cuevas, former WBA Fede Latin champion, former WBA Fede Centro champion, a young, bright prospect like Bomba Gonzalez. He had a small setback in his career, loss. But we think with 3 or 4 wins, we could get him back in the map and get him a good title shot.
Oh, we know Bomba Gonzalez all too well. We've seen him rise like foam, and we're so excited. And at the end, it's interesting because once somebody like Bomba Gonzalez gets a second chance and they do come to fruition, those great opportunities, nobody really remembers the type of dedication and work that the promoter does. How frustrating is that for you?
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating. But it takes a lot of the fighter as well. It's not just us as a promoter. They gotta have discipline. They gotta want it as well. Some of these guys, they lose 1 or 2 times. They have to rethink their careers. Maybe find a different motivation. I think with Bomba, we were able to find it. He fought for the world title at 112. We as a team decided that at 108, he has a lot better chance, and we positioned him correctly to the #1 spot, and that's how we got the world title shot, and we made it happen, and here we are today. He has 2 world title defenses already, and we're looking for the unification, hopefully with WBA, WBC champion Kenshiro.
There you go. So I'm so excited to see everything unfolding for 2023. Don't forget, this is your house. We got to share all these good news. And just for those that don't know, Tutiquín was bound to be a lawyer, and he decided to stay in the family business. But within you, I still see the negotiator. The negotiator within you is still alive and well.
Yeah, that I can never get away from me. Cubans, like my grandpa, were always picaro. Or in business sense, that's the word. We're always ahead of the punch. And that's the difference. At the end of the day, you could be very well prepared, but sometimes you got to react at the moment, and that could make it or break it in some points.
Very much alive and well with you. Tutiquín, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Claudia.
Don Felix Zavala, the new face of All-Star Boxing, always a pleasure. Don't go away, we have a lot more. And here we're still celebrating the WBA, the centennial, the 100th convention of the WBA. We'll be right back. continue celebrating the 100th convention of the WBA, and this would never be complete without the Flash himself. Nonito Donaire with us is in the house. And you know what? I know you guys don't see it, but behind the scenes, we have a big old hunkin' camera because he's here as a fighter, as a photographer, as a friend, as a husband, as a
everything.
Everything. Is there anything that Nonito does poorly?
You know, I think you can only be that way if you don't try. You know, no matter if it's poor to others, if you try, I think you're exceptional when it comes down to it. I think that everybody should never compare themselves to others, you know. So I think everything that I do is great because I love it.
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm going to let you guys into our little world. And I say ours because whenever we get together, we have these very deep, insightful conversations. And it has nothing to do with boxing at all. It has to do with everything but. But today we need to go back to a couple things. Celebrating the 100th convention for the WBA. Why is this important for you? You were one of the first ones to get invited, and that call came in, and you said yes.
Yes, I mean, it's a century. You know, there's a century of histories of champions and champions. You know, so it's very, very special. You know, when you have a long history of world champions. And, you know, I've seen them growing up. I've seen them in their tapes, you know, even before my father came in the picture, you know, and I've seen a lot of those black and white and stuff and just how much boxing has evolved. And through it all, you see it in that century of events that they've had.
Moreover, you're still very, very much active, and your beautiful wife, Rachel, who helps you manage your career, decided to stand before a huge crowd of men and women. Today was the rankings day. And she was very assertive. I have video. And she said, Nonito has not fought in that division since 2021. And he deserves this position because of this and this and this. Very short, sweet, concise. Before we go into the details of the X's and O's, how does that make you feel when you see your wife with such assertion dominate the room?
Well, it makes me proud, but I know what she's capable of even before anyone could see that. You know, from behind the scenes, she's done so much for me, allowed me to grow as a man. You know, I think in order for a strong man to come out, a strong woman has to be behind that. You know, and she's allowed me to be who I am. I can laugh, I can smile, I can have a great time, but at the same time, I can go in the ring and take it seriously. You know, I'm so proud to see her because now she's stepping into who she has always been as a woman, a strong woman. And in this year, the women has been tremendous. I mean, you can see I'm getting goosebumps because I'm very passionate about this, of how great women boxing has become, but how strong she has for me, and now people can see that, and I'm proud of that.
And I'm so proud to see that because I've seen that marriage grow and the kids, and you know, when we've been around for so long, it's beautiful to see families come together and then bring everything to fruition. And today, the case is they want you to be ranked number 1.
Yes, that was the thing. You know, they brought me from they got me to 3, and now we're petitioning for number 1. So that whenever, and from what I've heard, Inoue is vacating right away after this fight, which is tomorrow, or which is, I don't know the date, but
actually it's tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the morning starts, and then 6 a.m.
right,
somewhere around
something
there.
like that. And so for us, we just want to line myself up. I mean, I still have my own ventures, my journey to becoming what eludes me in boxing. The only award or accolades that I have not garnered in my resume is becoming undisputed champion of the world. And that's something that we're working on.
And the one thing that never ceases to amaze me is your hunger, not necessarily for more in terms of quantity, but more in quality. And that goes across the board, be it you're self-fulfilling spiritually, emotionally, physically, boxing, your artwork, your writing. How do you keep that flame going?
I think the flame is going because I have a purpose. You know, for me, waking up in the morning, I'm excited. Life has to be excited. And if those people that can't find life to be excited, find something to be excited, because when you're alive and living, that's what life is all about. You find it. Everybody has it. They just gotta look for it. They just gotta search it within themselves to make themselves be energized. You know, we are energized. I mean, if sad and a guy who has no energy at this moment in time, you put a tiger right in front of him, he'll run the heck up, right?
Like
and
a
he
bat out
has
of hell.
energy
Yes.
because he loved his life. He doesn't want to get eaten. And that's the thing about people is they think that life is how it's supposed to be, when life can be what you want life to be.
Those are very strong words and difficult sometimes to wrap your head around it. And somebody said this very simple prayer to me, which helped me get to that point. Very simple. And I'm just going to share that with you guys. You got to live life as if you're not going to live it again. You wake up in the morning, you will not see this morning again.
Yep.
The person you sit with for breakfast is not exactly the same person you'll meet tomorrow.
Amen.
That second that's coming, you might never live it again. As a matter of fact, this sunset, this sunrise, you will never see again. And once you put that in perspective, you find the joy in every minute. You have to find it because it's only that.
Yes.
And based on that very short prayer that I was fortunate enough to have somebody pass it down to me. You've lived outstanding moments besides the moment that you're married, a very particular woman who you somehow identified, the birth of your children, your championships, the accolades, the recognition by your peers, handed down the baton from somebody like Manny Pacquiao and just being recognized as one of the greatest. How do you relive those moments in your head?
I mean, in my head, it's always just gratitude. Like you said, what I've said now is already in the past. But one thing I can say, and one thing that I have a power on is to realize those moments and live it in my mind. And for me, it's gratitude. It's gratitude being here, talking to you again, your spirit and everybody here, and just having fun. You know, I think that it allows us to see the beauty of life as it passes, but the beauty of now as it becomes, you know, as it passes through us, you know. And I think that's the power, is when we can be grateful for the things that we have, but mainly we can smile and learn. Like for me, people always say, I mean, how does it feel, you know, you lost this way to Inoue? How is it? I'm like, listen, I'm grateful for that. Why? Because I can restart myself. I can reassess myself. And one thing I learned is that I'm not sad about it, because I know it had already passed. And therefore, I can only smile and learn from it and grow from it and give greater examples, you know, and live my moment, because at any moment in time, tomorrow is never promised, you know. And so for that, I'm always just grateful for it. And I think that's the thing with me, is I'm just grateful for life. And this is why I can just smile no matter what. I think that's the beauty of life, is just being grateful for each moment, each day, each people that you come in, and each and every setback that you have. When you can learn and find a gratitude moment of a learning experience, that's when you can propel yourself to be a better person.
What do you say after that?
I mean, just be grateful, you know.
Amen.
You know.
And the question begs, you, because I know your background, you fought all your life.
Yes.
You were not taught any
Yes.
other way.
No.
This is how you were raised, and you were raised in a very competitive, strict, never good enough.
Yes. You know, I was always told I wasn't good enough. I mean, like I said, my whole family, my mom would always call me the ugly duckling in the family. You know, and it's
that
hard
hurt me
for
so bad when I heard
yeah.
that.
When you're a child, it's hurtful, but then you just kind of learn to just ignore it, right? And for me, it came to a point in my life that I think I was 10 or 11 years old that I just said it was done. I was quit. I'm done with life. And I tried to take my own life, you know, at like 10 or 11 years old. But, you know, somehow, some way, God has blessed me for another day. And this is why from that moment on, even though it was hard, I'm always happy. I'm always grateful. I'm always living my life because I have another chance. I had another opportunity. And this is why I'm so blessed and always trying to inspire people, because one thing that you can live by is you can be sad, but along the line of sad is happiness. It's just the degree of the same emotion on that same line, and you can choose to be on this side or on this side, you know, regardless of how hard it is. And this is why I always say setbacks are a blessing because it made me who I am. You know, instead of making it an excuse of life that, oh, you were bullied or you were made fun of or nobody really believed in you, take that and bring it to the top. Because at the end of it all, those are the gem and the diamond that allows us to be propelled if we use it as energy, as compared to as an excuse. It'll bury us deep.
True. So, rough question. When did you stop being the ugly duckling?
It took me a long time. I think when I met my wife, and that was 15 years ago. I was already a world champion, and I still felt like I was.
So not even when you were a world champion.
Yeah.
Did you stop being the ugly
No,
duckling?
never.
And just for those that might not know, I'm gonna share private information. Please forgive me. You were already supporting your family.
Yes, I was supporting and helping them out. You know, because I didn't really care too much about money and stuff like that. You know, I love it that I create it and I make people happy with it. So by the time I met my wife, I mean, I had fought their Chinyan, and I had the biggest payday of my life. It was, you know, at that time it was 125, and I was like, oh my God, I can help my families out.
But not even then, when you had that satisfaction and joy.
Yeah.
Not even then.
Not even then, but I mean, like two months after that, I could have left with. I almost got left with nothing. I was giving it to everybody because that was my self-worth to give, because it made them happy. You know, it was never about me. And something that eludes a lot of us is we go beyond ourselves instead of loving ourselves first and foremost before going and loving everybody else. You know, and that's something I've learned as a man, as a person. But it took my wife, meeting my wife, and being with my wife and understanding the beauty of life, that I am loved, that someone can love me, you know, someone can be there for me. And man, I'm getting emotional here, you know, because I never thought I was worthy. I never thought I was a person that can be loved by somebody, you know, and my wife has given me all that I've ever wanted in my life. You know, my kids look at me and they have those eyes, and when they want something, they you know, I mean, it's the most amazing thing that I have, and because someone showed me that I love myself. When all the time I thought I hated myself, that I went and hang myself.
Well, for the record, you've never been an ugly duckling. And
oh
for
no,
the
I
record,
know that. And there is not one in this world that is, you know, when a person feels that within themselves, they have that power over themselves. You know, one thing I do truly know growing up was, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. And I stood with that, you know. And this is why I'm just, you know, there's so many people that can love me, but there's so many people that don't like me, you know, because of their presumptuous or assumptions. And I'm okay with that, because we are all have a way of looking at things, you know. And for them, I hope that they find to love themselves more, because when you are too worried about other people is when you know you're eluding the self-love that you deserve, that they deserve.
you know, these type of conversations deserve a bigger platform than this. Just more time, wine, and cigars.
Yes.
And reeling it back to boxing, because I know the fortitude within you has kept you going for a long time.
Yes.
How much longer do you think Nonito has in the world of boxing?
I mean, I have a lot left in me. But what happened last time when we walked out of that ring, you know, he's an amazing fighter. And in the locker room, my wife came to me and she said, "I'm not disappointed at what happened, but I'm afraid of seeing that. I don't ever want to see you fall that way." You know, and then from that moment on, I said, okay, I think I'm done with this. And then, of course, me as a fighter, I'm like, you know what, give me another chance. So we have decided that if I don't show up in training camp or in any other way into the fight, she has the right. So she holds my career at this moment. because she deserves to call it. You know, all my life she's been pushing me, helping me, and supporting me. You know, so I said from this moment on, if I don't ever show up, you have my career. If you want me to go from this point on, I will not even contest that. You know, I'm just grateful for her, and she has all the rights because she's loved me. She showed me who I am. I mean, I never thought I'll be this person who can talk to people, looking at them in the eyes. Because for all my life, I would shake people's hand. I would always look at my feet.
Wow. But
that was me being a world champion already.
Wow. But with that being said, when she stood up today, responding for you, testifying for you, kudos to Rachel.
I was so proud of her.
We're so proud. So, Nonito, as usual, it's an outstanding time. We share great conversations. I wish you could be privier, if there's such a word, or more privy to our conversations. But I'm sure we're going to work something out soon.
Yes, 100%. And it's all for the betterment of the world, betterment of the people, and understanding that we are special. All of us are special. I mean, again, I grew up without electricity. I grew up without nothing. There is no future because no one believed in me but me. And when you believe in yourself, you can truly carry yourself higher and fly and rise to any height you want.
Amen. So you keep flying, you keep rising, and we'll keep cheering him on. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for celebrating with us. You know, you're family.
Oh, yes, I know. Thank you.
And you're not my ugly duckling.
Thank you.
And you've always been good enough.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. We have a lot more all the way from Caribe Royale, Orlando, celebrating the 100th convention of the WBA. We'll be right back.
We'd like to take this opportunity to welcome the directors of all the different regions that make the operation of the World Boxing Association possible. First, we'd like to welcome
And hello, we're back. Did you guys enjoy all those images? Well, that was part of the celebration of the centennial of the WBA. And of course, no better place than Caribe Royale Orlando Resort, and no better way than a 14-bout evening with 9 title fights. That's what we had last night. And we had everybody that's anybody in the world of boxing visiting us. So we're gonna have some more family, friends, familiar faces talking to us in just a bit. But before we go anywhere, you know, the WBA has friends across the board, different sports, different entities. And today we have somebody that comes from the BYB family that decided to visit us and support the WBA in the celebration. Lincoln, thank you for being with us. It's great to have somebody that understands boxing and bare knuckle and it comes to support the celebration of the WBA.
No, I love it. No, I wouldn't be anywhere else in the world right now. I could have been in Cleveland. We could have been in Vegas with Ron Johnson. Could have been in Miami, but we're right here in Orlando to support not only bare knuckle fighting and bare knuckle boxing in the WBA, but to also continue to embrace the relationships that we have with BoxLab.
So let's back up a tad bit. Your background was boxing, then you moved on to bare knuckle, and just for those that don't know, what's the big difference?
Well, for those that don't know, my name is Lincoln. I'm from El Paso, Texas. I've been boxing my entire life. I tried to penetrate professional boxing on my debut in 2005 in top-ranked gym by sparring people like Floyd Mayweather Jr., Peter Manfredo, Jesse Brinkley, Yankee Diaz, Hasim Rahman. And that kind of went to the left because I had a lot of situations with my life at the time. So I kind of put that on the back burner, and here I am 15 years later with bare knuckle boxing, and just the love for boxing, the love for fighting is what brought me here.
And because you do love combat sports.
Oh, I love the combat sports. Well, initially, and the reason why I came to Caribe the first time was because we have a combat sport contract with Bally Sports, Entrabox. And what that does, it allows us to take on people like BoxLab, promoters, and place them on the platform so that the rest of the world can see them on national television, Bally Sports. And it's a very big network. It used to be Fox Sports Network, rebranded now into Bally.
And when we talk about celebrations, why is the 100th convention for the WBA so important?
Well, if you look at the inception of boxing and sanctioned boxing started with the WBA. And it was these relationships that allowed people from all over the world to be able to participate, even today, 100 years later, on a world platform. But the beginning and the inception, the seed, is the WBA.
When we talk about structures, when we talk about protocols, how was the WBA involved?
Well, you look at the WBA, they've been around, they've seen every move in boxing. Every belt that was born came after the WBA. The importance of the WBA letting people know, in the general public, to let the general public know that the WBA invites fighters from the beginning, from amateur rankings. There's people that are being ranked right now that started out in amateur boxing. Before amateur boxing, they started out in the youth centers and in the streets. So the WBA is like the grandfather figure for all fighters, and they want to make sure that people are treated the right way. I believe, in my opinion, and not saying that the other commissions or sanctioning belts are not as prestigious as the WBA, but the WBA has the strongest reputation in boxing. And they're very respected. And I believe what's going on right now is more than just a convention. This is a movement. This is a movement and evidence that relationships go very, very far in boxing.
I totally agree. And as always, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And obviously, with your accolades, your experience, thank you for celebrating with us. And another thing that the WBA has done is support women's boxing. And with us, we're going to have the undisputed unified champion, Ms. Franchon Cruz. She's going to be joining us in 2 seconds. So please don't go away. We'll be right back. Continuing here with the coverage and the podcast for the WBA 100th convention. And as promised, we have family, friends, familiar faces, iconic figures. And I have to admit, sometimes I bring even my favorite people, they come and visit me. And one of those is Miss Franchon Cruz DeZern. She's with us. And thank you, Franchon, the diva.
Thank
the
you.
main diva is with me. Thank you. Franchon, it's been such a wonderful year.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Well, it's extra wonderful because we keep being able to be in the same room.
Yes.
At the same events and talking girl stuff.
Yes, because we talk boxing all the time.
Yes.
And just to get that out of the way, outstanding year for you.
Yes.
A lot of stuff happened because I remember we met a long time ago and there was a level of frustration for lack of fights, lack of support, and then everything started falling into place.
Yes.
2022, this is the year where I'm not going to say that everything fell into place. No, you explode. Everything was in place from the get-go.
Yes.
It finally exploded.
Yes. It's just like planting a seed and, you know, you water it and you just hope get sunshine. And I planted all these seeds for the things that I wanted to accomplish. And it was watered by tears of frustration, tears of joys. And now I'm seeing the end result of everything. 2022, I made history and became the first undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. I also debuted my first collection as a fashion designer. And 2 nights ago, I sung the national anthem at an NBA game, which is a goal I had for a long time, to step outside of the boxing ring and you know, integrate myself into other professional sports.
You know, we say this lightly. We talk about people being multifaceted and people having a lot of, you know, moving parts to them. Miss Diva here is the epitome of that because about 8 years ago, when we first talked, you've always been into sewing, into designing. And I remember you had a beautiful vest that caught my eye. You said, girl, I got this in a vintage store and this I put together, and everything was so well put together. And I remember one day I heard you like, da 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 da, like, you know, whatever you say, tarareando in Spanish. I don't know how to say that in English. And I'm like, oh my God, the girl's got a voice. Oh yeah, well, I competed. Wait, stop. What?
Yes.
I don't think most people know that.
Oh, that I was contested on American Idol?
Yes.
Yeah, that was years ago when the show was fairly new. And I wasn't in full form, but I knew I had the ambition and I had the goal in mind because I definitely said when they told me, not right now, come back again another time. And Simon told me I couldn't do both, which is sing and box. And once I got eliminated, I told him, if I'm not the American Idol, I'm going to be the middleweight champion of the world. And I became super middleweight champion of the world. And yeah.
Take that, Simon. In your face, Simon. And guess what? She still sang the national anthem.
Yeah.
So hello, Whitney Houston, move aside.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, so
Yes, ma'am.
again, I remember we talked about inspirations. We've talked about what keeps you motivated and the fact that you're like a chameleon. And as time moves on, you get more refined in your changes. They're more subtle, but yet just as eye-catching. Your hair, your outfits. So we've had the opportunity to see Franchon not only obviously headlining fights, but designing her own outfits, her own choreography with her dancers. Talk to me, Goose.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm going to shout out Glenn DeZern Jr. because that's my husband, and he puts up with all my mess, right? And I'll come to him with crazy ideas. And sometimes even when I'm second guessing myself, he's like, no, that's you. Nobody can tell you how to be you. And when you said that I'm becoming more refined as time goes on, he literally told me that a couple days ago. And I took that with grace because I said, you know what? Those times when I wanted things really badly and it didn't happen, it wasn't the right time because I wasn't fully ready. So now when I go into situations and I explore new avenues, I'm confident because I know I've been through the fire. I'm tested. I'm strong enough and I can do it. Even with fashion, I picked up a sewing machine from Craigslist for $25.
No way.
A few years ago. This is how I learned to sew, and Glenn is my muse. So I made one of his first boxing outfits out of old shorts, a t-shirt, some hot glue, and sewing.
So you had no idea how to sew before?
No, I didn't. I just had expensive taste and I was broke.
That's perfect combination for creativity.
Yeah, and he wore it with confidence. And then other people saw, and they're like, okay. So people gave me a chance because they saw and felt the passion. Even when the outfits, the sizing was off a little bit or it was coming apart a little bit, they wore it with confidence. And for me, it gave me more motivation to see like, wow, my clothing is making people feel good. My singing is making people feel good. Me just being me is making people feel good. So I say, okay, that's my purpose. That's my purpose, just to live and walk in my light and hope to inspire someone else. So having my first fashion show, I gave opportunities to people who never walked in a show before, including Glenn, a guy from my gym, and another young lady. And I had experienced models because they brought such a different essence to it. And after that show was done, the experienced model said, oh my God, that was one of the best shows. That was the best show I ever walked in. I'm like, what? What? I'm like, what? I had my whole team. I had my own hairstylist, Chase. I had one of a kind do a makeup. It was 13 designers, and I just had my whole crew. Like everybody was taken care of. We ran like a well-oiled machine. And I just want to say, like, one of the models who never modeled, I gave her opportunity. She's been booked for 3 shows in the last month. So I'm like, okay, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And because I know what it feels like for me to have a goal or me to want to do something and not have the support or nobody believe me because she doesn't have this many followers or she hasn't done this, that, and the third. Well, everybody got to start somewhere. So giving opportunities to people who've never had them and to see them flourish, that is so fulfilling for me.
Oh, and for me to watch it has been amazing because I remember a long time ago, somebody said to me, if you want something amazing to happen, you got to go out there and make something amazing happen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you've been doing with your life, your career. Your personality has been always out there, happy-go-lucky, shining, the light within you. But now you're a lot more in it. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
It's a gift and a curse, I will say, because who said this? Isaac Newton, I think. Don't quote me because I'm not like a scientist or anything, but for every action, it's the opposite yet equal reaction.
True.
So I have to
That's the first law of motion.
Yeah, I have to find a balance because like you said, I have a big light. I'm in it. But sometimes it gets dark, and you know this personally because I've spoken to you. And sometimes it gets really dark. But I just, grasp on and reach out to my resources, and I just know that the light always wins. The light will always win.
You just mentioned you go out to your resources. What are those resources?
Well, one is myself. One is, trusting the universe, trusting the higher power, my husband, and people I know that love me and care about me and want to see me win. It could be a stranger on the street. I will listen to a person I've never met that speaks life into me before I listen to a hater. Because all you see is what I'm showing you, the outside, or what you feel, because people forget, blind people don't see people, but they can feel love. They can feel when somebody really cares about them. So I would trust the person who meets me in love than the person who's trying to give negativity to me. So I just accept all of that, and it charges me back up.
Beautiful. Is that what so when you're in those dark moments, because we've spoken about frustration.
Yeah.
And your own negation, the
Yes.
negation of you and yourself.
Yes.
It's so hard to identify when you're in that dark spot.
Yeah.
How do you identify where to go? Where is that place safe?
So this is deep for a podcast, but we always have these conversations.
Yes, we do.
But it's like when you said that I've been a light and I'm walking more into it.
Yes.
I think it's more being self-aware and really accepting me, flaws and all, and understanding it's a process. I'm human. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm gonna have good days and bad days. And when I see the days are getting bad, I have to be tough on myself. I step outside of myself and talk to myself. And like, you can't give into that. Like, it's people dying. It's somebody who didn't wake up this morning. It's somebody praying and begging and wishing to be in a position that you are. So you got to try to pull through. And I always say this to my husband, I don't get mad. Even if I get mad for a little bit, I don't stay mad. I get motivated, you know? And I have to be grateful. Grace and gratitude will take you further than anything else.
So much so, my dear, that today you are what? Just please remind us, how many titles do you hold now?
I hold 5 world titles. The first ever to do so, the WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, and the inaugural Ring Magazine title.
If there was ever a drop mic moment, this is it.
Hey, that's it. In the words of my mentor, Bernard Hopkins, that's him all the time. He'll say it and he'll drop the mic. And yeah, I'm just grateful. I have good people and I have a small but mighty circle. And I just, stay in my lane.
And do what you do best.
Yes, ma'am. That's be me.
Yes! Look.
Yes, ma'am.
Franchon, always a pleasure. I'm so happy that you're here. I look forward to seeing your dress tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to have that all over the place. I'm going to shoot it in every single angle because there's always a surprise that you have for us. So I look forward to seeing you tonight.
Remind me, I'm not on fight weight, so I'll make sure I suck it in and get the good angle.
You know what? It's the angle. It's the angle. Mama, you look fantastic no matter how, no matter where, no matter when.
Thank you so much, Claudia.
No, thank you, baby. Thank you. And before we leave, like I said, we had a great celebration, the beginning of a week's worth of celebration for the WBA 100th convention. And we had a lot of familiar faces, many people that came to celebrate with us, starting with the fight night. These are some of the families and friends of the WBA celebrating 100 years. So we're here celebrating 100 years of the WBA, the 100th convention, and we're with none other than Gilberto Jesus Mendoza, a.k.a. Gilbertico. It's easier said than done, 100 years. How does that feel?
Well, I'm deeply honored being a boxing fan, and being part of the sport, having beautiful persons like you, having beautiful persons on my directorate with all of us. They leave me, I was left with a legacy from my father, from the previous president, a lot from Latin America, also from the United States. Being the first organizations, the pioneers of boxing, besides other sanctioning bodies, is something that we have to try and work together, and to improve this sport. We have a very great message. We have a lot of values that are principles and lessons that are taught quietly by a lot of heroes, because at the end of the day, all our champions are heroes. And they teach so much, they motivate so much to be better, and it's a great responsibility. So we have to keep working on the next 100 years, trying to make it as much as possible, and make it more systematic. This kind of work we're doing, and for me, boxing is a way to educate people. There's a lot of options these days that can teach you, but what they do is totally different. So we have to commit. We have to be devoted, trying to send this message and to respect the right of the fighters. That's one thing we're going to do.
One of the things that we talk about is the international reach that the WBA has. How committed are you as part of the organization to bring in that talent from those less known countries in order to get recognition and therefore a bigger platform?
Look, right now we're working together. As you know, we declare boxing as one sport. We're trying to work from the basis, from the amateurs. We're trying to have some kind of development, systematically, that can bring all the information that we need from the kids. At least, at some point, we want to follow them since they start in amateurs until they're professionals, and we're trying to take less the pragmatic ways. We're trying actually adding to it. We're trying to make courses for teachers. Actually, we have one that a former fighter will be able in 9 months to have like a course that will make him a trainer. That was done through a lot of educational ministers in several countries in Latin America. But we're doing that, and one thing is, like, for example, Africa. We have the Minister of Sport of Africa who was really interested, and there are other countries like Venezuela who was interested. There's France is also interested. So for us, it's a big thing, and that's the only way we can do it. We have to teach the next generation to keep doing what we do.
Well, I'm very excited. It's easier said than done. Congratulations. I hope we get to celebrate another 100 years. So thank you for everything you've done.
No, thank you. You know you're part of this family.
Oh, thank you. Bless me too. Estoy tal vez con una de las damas más decoradas en el boxeo femenino. Obviamente la redundancia, pero más allá de la época cuando en realidad no se les daba ni siquiera la oportunidad. Jackie, es un honor tenerte aquí, celebrar el centenario de la AMB, pero ¿quién mejor que tú que me puedas explicar lo que ha sido ser parte de esta nueva etapa del boxeo femenino?
Muchísimas gracias. Mira, pues así, como dices, a mí me tocó empezar desde el 2000-2001, donde prácticamente había muy poco boxeo femenil. Hemos ido tratando se ha evolucionado en cierta forma, ya hay olimpiadas de mujeres, ya hay más campeonatos de mujeres, ya estamos en Estados Unidos, ya están en Estados Unidos las mujeres, las están apoyando más. Creo que hemos tenido un gran avance, sin duda. A mí ya no me tocaron las grandes bolsas, pero creo que están llegando las oportunidades, y lo que queremos, bueno, yo como mexicana, decirle a todas las mexicanas, ¿sabes qué? Pues aquí está la oportunidad y hay que aprovecharla, hay que ir por ella, ¿no?
Jackie, hablemos un poquito de los entes rectores y su responsabilidad en el apoyo hoy, precisamente. ¿Qué tienen que hacer? ¿Qué les hace falta?
Mira, este es un trabajo en equipo. Yo creo que no nomás se trata de una persona, tanto los organismos como los promotores, como también nosotros como boxeadoras también poner nuestra parte para decir, yo como boxeadora tengo que decir, ¿sabes qué? Necesito entrenar bien, hacer bien mi trabajo para que ahí en el ring me vean y pueda llamar la atención. Eso es para nosotros como boxeadoras. Los promotores sí darles mucho más, todavía más publicidad, así como le dan a los hombres, le dan mucho más publicidad con mucho tiempo de anticipación. De repente tú vas a cierto peleador, no voy a decir nombres, pero ves a cierto peleador y 6 meses antes le están dando una publicidad enorme y dices, ¿y tú, quién la ve? Pues todo mundo. Y si a nosotros nos publican una semana, 2 semanas antes, pues nadie se da cuenta, nadie se entera que vamos a pelear. Creo que va ligado con todos los organismos, también llevan su parte. ¿Por qué? Porque también hay que darle fuerza con los campeonatos, con todos los títulos que vienen de por medio, ¿no?
Y ahora más una pregunta personal. Muy pocas veces me refiero a una persona como una persona del centenario. Y una de ellas es Jackie Nava. Jackie no ha sido sino una atleta, arquitecta, ha sido parte de lo que es la parte política en México, entrenadora, asistente, ahora comentarista. Si no hay mujer del centenario, no hay una Jackie Nava, porque de verdad lo has hecho todo. ¿Cuál es la clave de hacer todo lo que haces con tanto amor y pasión y lo haces todo bien?
Pues parece que lo hacemos bien, pero mira, la verdad es que siempre ha sido el organizarte. Yo creo que también conoces de esto, porque también yo admiro tu trabajo. Es organizar tus tiempos. A veces sí me jalo las greñas, tengo 2 niñas, te juro que sí, a veces sí lloro, pero vaya, quiero llegar lejos, quiero hacer más allá de ser campeona, yo quiero llegar más lejos como mujer. Entonces creo que de eso se trata, de ir pensando en el más allá. Ahorita yo ya terminé de pelear, pero todavía sigo haciendo muchas cosas y hay muchos proyectos en puerta. Esa es la parte, seguir viendo hacia arriba, no quedarte y estancarte y conformarte con lo que tienes, ¿no?
Amén, y se me olvidó el trabajo más importante, mamá de 2 niñas, y yo sé lo dedicada que eres y el amor que le tienes a todos los que somos de tu familia de boxeo. Gracias por ser parte de nosotros, gracias por los años que nos diste y espero seguirte viendo por muchos años más.
Claro que sí, gracias a WBA por todo el apoyo que me dio durante toda mi carrera.
Amén. La mujer del centenario. Estamos aquí con Marcos el Chino Maidana, es un placer y obviamente una noche para la historia. Llegaste a celebrar los 100 años de la AMB y el Bebu Verón se lleva la victoria. ¿Qué se siente?
No, bueno, ya venimos con el Bebu, lo venimos siguiendo hace rato, lo tenemos en nuestro equipo y estamos muy contentos, viene con varias victorias y nada, es una más, pero bueno, esperemos celebrar el día que gane el título.
Me dice que él ya está listo para Las Vegas. Tú sabes lo que es pelear en Las Vegas. ¿Qué le dices a él?
No, bueno, por ahí le faltan 1 o 2 peleitas más y vamos para Las Vegas.
Bueno, ¿y qué vamos a hacer para celebrar la AMB y los 100 años?
Hoy tranqui, vamos a tomar algo tranqui y después, bueno, vamos a bailar un poco.
Y después, gracias. Chino, siempre un gusto tenerte y felicidades. El que sabe, sabe y el que no es jefe.
Así es.
WBA, the Centennial, and who do we have here? Fernando Ferocious Vargas. Fernando, un gusto que estés con nosotros. It's such a pleasure to have you here. You know, we do this whole Spanglish thing anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Ferocious Fernando Vargas.
Sí, señor. El feroz, chingado, whatever.
Yeah, el feroz, chingado, I like that better. Yeah, we're, came here with the Dynasty. My friend Paulie Maldonado right there just walked in.
Yeah, he just left me.
Yeah. We're excited. We are, my son just fought Emiliano Fernando Vargas, also known as El General. He just fought not too long ago on the top ranked card. And a spectacular knockout, second round knockout, and I'm just excited for my boys.
Wait. But let's back up just a tad bit. Fernando, I remember when you made history, and now you're watching your boys make history. Moreover, forget about the results. How does it feel to be part of history and now have your kids be part of history?
Well, it's to me, it's everything. You know what I mean? Because, when you didn't grow up with having a father, and then you do this with your kids, that I could have left my wife. My wife could have left me many times, and we never did. And I'm blessed that they didn't. She didn't leave me because I'm just glad because my family wouldn't be together now. I just knew as a kid that when I met my wife, that when I was gonna have kids, that I was gonna be in my kids' lives, and it didn't matter whether we were together or not, but we've been together for 29 years now, and I'm just grateful that our family's together and my boys are doing what they want to do, because it's not something that I wanted them to do. And everybody asks me, Fernando, you don't want your kids to fight? I said, no. And then my compadre, Frankie Casavetes, said it best. He goes, champ, you don't want your kids to fight? I said, no. He said, okay, who's going to tell your kids they can't be like their dad? Because I'm not going to tell them. When he said that, I was like, wow.
Good call. Very good call. So the WBA is celebrating its first 100 years.
100 years.
And you wrote the chapter. What does it mean to be part of this celebration?
Oh, it's a blessing to be amongst great champions. Paulie Maldonado was just here. Just many champions that are around here. It's a blessing for me. So I love interacting with world champions, because you gotta understand. Well, sometimes when you're a young kid and you see world champions, and then they know who you are, and you're like, you know who I am? It's crazy. It's a blessing. It's such an amazing thing that they know who you are because of the fact that you became a champion yourself, and a WBA champion to be exact.
Exactly. That's why I know you made history. Fernando Ferocious Vargas with us. I'm hoping that you stay the week so we can have a long chat in the podcast. I'm going to make you commit.
Oh, well, I leave Thursday.
Don't worry. We got Monday, Tuesday. He's going to be back. Thank you, Fer. Always un placer. Te amo. So proud of you. Bueno, esta es una noche para celebrar. ¿Qué se siente llegar aquí y que la gente esté reconociendo tu talento y que ya estás tildado como el futuro del boxeo?
Bueno, primero que todo, muchas gracias una vez más por la oportunidad y se siente súper, o sea, es diferente. En Cuba yo siempre estaba acostumbrado a todo en televisor, ¿no? Y ahora llegar aquí, que todo sea, que sea yo la estrella, es bastante, como que todavía no me lo creo lo que está pasando, gracias a Dios, conmigo y mi carrera.
Es impresionante, sobre todo porque te veo con otros boxeadores como Orestes Velázquez, que también está haciendo sus pininos. Para ti, ¿qué ha sido lo más importante, sobre todo ahora que estamos celebrando el centenario de la AMB?
Bueno, para mí lo más importante es ver a todos los cubanos una vez más reunidos aquí, ¿no? Que desde Cuba siempre anduvimos juntos por equipo y haciendo imaginaciones de tantas cosas que podríamos lograr, lo que podríamos hacer y que ahora estemos aquí, que lo estemos logrando, es algo que para mí yo creo que son lo más importante de todo.
Hablamos con Oreste rápidamente de su travesía del sacrificio. Háblame un poco de tu sacrificio, que ha sido lo más difícil de sobrellevar para llegar a este punto.
Yo creo que lo más difícil ha sido dejar a mi familia atrás. Dejar a mi familia, o sea, no poder, no tener la posibilidad de poder darle un abrazo cada vez que termina una pelea, cada vez que esas cosas, yo creo que eso ha sido lo más difícil, lo más fuerte de superar. ¿Sabes? Muchos días, muchas cosas que uno no sabe, ¿no? Pero muchas noches que uno como se acuesta incluso está llorando, porque en serio es bastante duro no tener a los tuyos aquí, pero bueno, estamos trabajando para eso y, tú sabes, enfocados. Ahora cuando hay que subir de verdad.
Bueno, la verdad es que es un placer que estés aquí con nosotros. Gracias. Y yo sé que no somos familia, pero tienes que entender que nosotros aquí te queremos y te queremos bien y estamos muy orgullosos de ti. Gracias a ti. Ms. Marlene Esparza, thank you, Frank. We're joined by the upper echelon of boxing right here. Thank you. How does it feel? You're part of the celebration, 100 years of the WBA.
It feels really good. Actually, with the WBA, it was something that I always wanted, something I always wanted to do, but being so close and now being like, it feels like part of the family, and especially at like the 100 years, seems like the perfect place to be. I mean, I'm blessed, and I think God's really showing what he means for me.
It's interesting because we're celebrating 100 years of the WBA, but we also have to celebrate as the first female to ever qualify to the Olympics, representing the U.S., and this was back in 2012. It feels like it was yesterday, but you're part of history. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good if I continue to represent it correctly. What I've done, being the first female ever to qualify for the Olympic Games, first female ever to medal for the Olympic Games, because Clarissa Shields got a wild card. We had nobody at 132, wild card. But if I don't do it correctly moving forward, then it absolutely means nothing. So as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, and I do it correctly, then I feel that I did us correctly. And that's really what matters to me.
I'm always very proud of you. Thank you for coming out and celebrating with us. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
¿Quién mejor, who best? Mr. Iván Calderón, WBA, celebrating 100 years. You're here with us, con nosotros. ¿Qué se siente? How does it feel?
It feels good. Se siente bien being here with the other champion. They're all champions. It don't matter what organism. We always here backing up each other and just be here with the fans.
When we look at history and we know what WBA has done to make sure that everybody has a structure, when you've become a fighter, then a trainer, how do you rely on these entities to support your fighters?
You know, I come here because me like a trainer, we need to get the space, talk, to get opportunity for them to fight for the titles, to rank them. So we gotta come to all these stuff to know about the business. So now I'm in another part, like a trainer, like a manager, whatever people want to understand what I'm doing right now. So I gotta be in all these kind of activities.
It's always great to have you. Iván Calderón, the most powerful man I've ever met. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh my God, we're here with boxing royalty. Please, men and women, the best ever, making history here at the WBA. And you too, Mama, you've made history also. So what does it feel to be celebrating this?
About us, huh?
Oh, Shug, look at this. Look at it.
Oh, there's it. There we go.
Don't
Forget about us.
Why are you hating? Look.
We're security guards.
I am so. This is okay. Hold on a second. I gotta take a pic. Can you all take a picture of this? Just because. Mira. So what is it? But come. You guys are like the creme of the creme, and you guys are here with us. Thank you. Yeah, la creme de la creme, actually. So how does it feel? How does it feel to be part of 100 years worth of history?
Man, a century of history of boxing and just the whole thing is incredible. You know, for us, it gives us a lot of honor. And most of all, we get to meet all these amazing fighters and legends. You know, you can't. I mean, you got her.
Yeah, Franchon,
Yes, undisputed. And then this guy, right? I don't know who this guy is, but I think he trains Tyson Fury. You know, and then this one, eight-time world champion. I'm a 9-time world champion, so she's a little bit behind me, you know, but.
Oh, wait. Those are them fighting words. So just 8. But again, let's talk about women's boxing. We spoke with Franchon. Obviously, yes, very important, because I know you train her, Shug. So talk to me about this year. 2022 meant a lot for us ladies.
2022 has been incredible. I mean, we had Madison Square Garden. We had was it O2?
O2 Arena, UK.
O2 Arena, UK. It's been unreal. So we've had women headlining like major shows, and I think it's just a start for us. We've had undisputed women. We keep moving forward day after day, and it's incredible to see these women take these monumental steps, and it's been inspirational even for me as a pioneer of the sport. And coming into my 20th year, people like Franchon have inspired me to do even more, if that's even possible.
No, I am surrounded, like I said, by boxing royalty, and Shug, I would completely be at fault if I didn't include you, because when we talk about 20 years worth of experience and you working her out, making sure that she shows off her best.
Let me tell you a story real quick.
Tell me a story. One time in Bandcamp?
It might be about 20 years ago, but I had a fighter that fought in Edmonton about 20 years ago. Didn't know Jelena at all, but I remember that fight.
Don't age me. It was like 10 years.
Yeah, so it was just some time ago. I didn't know, but all I remember was women boxing was big in Canada, Edmonton. It was an all-women championship card. I never seen it before in my life. So that's how far I was impressed with that as a women boxing that short time ago.
It was yesterday, and I remember those days. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to consider. Oh, I know.
Well, look, I gotta say this. I mean, having a legend like Nonito that is confident enough to work with his wife, because you talk about the women that's in the ring, but we got to talk about the women outside the ring that's also, you know, behind the scenes making moves, trying to push forward the narrative, not just for women's boxing, but for men's boxing as well. So, you know, it's just a movement.
It's a movement, and we're closing 2022 acknowledging and being aware of that. And I take this opportunity to thank every single one of you, because you guys make my job a delight.
You know,
Thank you. I love you guys.
You know what's the most amazing thing that I learned is that women are so much more powerful than they ever know. It's just that they're such nurturer that they allow the men to take over.
We can't do it
right?
without you guys.
I thought he was gonna say women are just much more powerful than men, because it's facts.
Oh no, it's true.
Oh, Lord.
No. This no.
With that note, we're gonna call it quits, because this conversation is gonna go forever. Boxing royalty right here.
That's what I gotta say. It's amazing.